Hey, how's it going? My name is Ashley Rose. As you know, you can call me Ash. I am here today with a good friend of mine. Uh, you probably all know him or you're familiar with him. He is the Death Samurai. He is a deathmatch wrestler. He is a content creator, and he's got a cute dog named Kota. Akira. Akira, how are you doing today?
Retired deathmatch wrestler, just a wrestler now. I'm doing good. I
Retired?
am, yeah. I'm no more death matches unless someone with on a TV network wants to pay me a lot of money to do it. But I'm not, I just want to wrestle now. I'm very happily done. I'm getting tattoos and stuff on me. I don't want those things destroyed. But no, I'm doing okay. Surviving the winter, trying to not let the winter depression, the seasonal depression, really bring me down. So I'm forcing myself to get up, go to the gym. Still trying to eat healthy. Still not. Even in the midst of my content stuff when I'm streaming, going, okay, let's get a whole bunch of nice, quick fast foods. I'm like, no, okay, pre-make your meals or get some healthy snacks. Be nice and wise. Let Coda eat all the bad stuff because that dog is spoiled and he's now become the second de facto star of the stream besides my snake Dio.
Well, Akira, first, I know you're mainly known for deathmatch wrestling, especially in Japan. I was super happy and excited when I saw that you went on excursion over there. I was very proud of you. You were actually, for people that don't know, Akira was announced before, but he ended up having to go to Japan, which I completely understand. And you ended up becoming actually a champion over there. So
Yeah,
that was
uh,
fascinating.
it was. I look back at my time at Big Japan Pro Wrestling, and it's very fitting that the height of my deathmatch career came when I went to Japan, and then I hit the top of the mountain I hit was not in America. I did what no other American could really ever do as I went to Japan and became a beloved deathmatch pro wrestling, generally just a pro wrestling star. I would go to pro wrestling Noah shows. I would go to all these other events, and people would see me, and it wasn't like in America where individuals would see me and go, "Oh, it's Kira." They would go, "Oh, Akira-san, please, photo." And I go, "Yeah, I'm just trying." I was incognito. I was not, out loud. I didn't have my hair out. I had like a hat on, but people would see me and go, "Oh, Akira-san," and I go, "Oh, I guess I stand out." So people would come out of my way. But it's very fitting that when I went to Japan this time for my 6 to 7 month excursion slash uh, business venture, if you will, that I went there and I went for the King of the Deathmatch tournament, which the last time that was, I don't know when the last time it was ran, but the only one to win it that was a foreigner, Gaijin, Gaikokujin, if you're trying to be TV polite over there, was Cactus Jack. So I'm the second ever Gaijin King of the Deathmatch, Japanese King of the Deathmatch since Cactus. And I mean, it wasn't like it was my first time over there, and I just happened to win their hearts over. When I was over, my first two times I went over there, I had already won them over. Like I was already beloved. So when I came for this longer run, uh, the Japanese fans were already ready. Like when we came out the day before King of the Death match, and I just arrived in Japan. They're like, "You need to come because we're doing a presentation." And I said, "Oh, okay." And I didn't know I was winning the tournament or anything like that. I was like, okay, I'm gonna go here. I'm gonna show face, and I'm gonna have a nice little run here and try to grow as a wrestler. And when I got there, like, you're winning, right? I was like, I'm what? And I walked out, and the fans, like, everyone was cheering for everyone. When I came out, it was all across Corgan Hall. Akira, Akira. Everyone was flipping out, and everyone was like so excited to see me. And that never stopped the entirety of my run there. I was always like one of, if not the most popular guy there. And to go there and win the original deathmatch belt, win the Big Japan Pro Wrestling Deathmatch Championship, and basically that being my swan song for my entire deathmatch career as I step forward into trying to full on become like a TV full time pro wrestler. I think there's something beautiful in that. Like to hit as people told me, what about all these other championships, in America or the Pro Wrestling Freedoms belt? And I'm like, that's great, but I did everything I needed and slash wanted to do, and my body is not going to last forever. I'm not Jun Kasai who is still going in his 50s. I want to do more than just deathmatch wrestling, and plus, with the matches I had this year in Japan, and the most infamous one being one that had no glass and was very, very brutal on my body, where I was in the hospital, 40 stitches, 30 staples in my head. I the love for doing death matches was sucked out of me because I put so much into it in Japan that now I'm just like I don't want to do that anymore. But that and life is what took away my love for deathmatch wrestling. Deathmatch wrestling is almost it's a horror movie, but it's almost a test of the human spirit of fighting to survive, overcoming the greatest obstacles. And the entirety of last year was probably my greatest death match overall because I faced death numerous times. I pushed my body to the limits in ways that most human beings never will, and I don't think anyone in America really has, especially in terms of uh, stature. Like yeah, people could fall off high things, but willingly falling onto like razor boards, barefoot, doing stuff like that. Just the concept of doing things bare feet terrifies people. So like falling on a razor boards, barbed wire, forks is barefoot, and other things is crazy. I did everything I wanted to do there, and because of that, now I've come back to America, and I've had a couple smaller independent wrestling shows, and people have told me, people from like Bear Bronson to from when I first came back, to just people that I've worked with, they're like, you're a whole different wrestler, you're a whole different person, and it's because of the last year, it's because of the changes I went through physically, mentally, spiritually, and because of deathmatch wrestling. So I don't regret that time of my life. I, you you can't live life and regret the times that we live, even if it's good, even if it's bad, just because it's those things that are the catalysts that make you who you are today. And the person who you are today, that's up to you to decide if whether those things affect you positively or if they affect you negatively. And I think, considering the people that I'm still friends with and I know, that as they told me, the person that I was, 20, 30 years ago, no, 20 years ago, because 30 years ago I'd be two, they're like, you're such a whole different human being. Your mind's different, even a year's different. They're like, you're such a crazily changed human being, and we're proud to see that you're at this stage of your life. And that, everyone's all hopeful for me, and I'm hoping I can achieve and do more too. I just, at the end of the day, I got tired of doing death matches and not living a better life. I want to have a house. I want to have a family. I want to have all those little basic simple things that bring more to your life than blood and guts everywhere.
It's understandable. What do you think is the misconception when it comes to deathmatch wrestling in America versus Japan?
Oh well, so one of the skill difference between America and Japan is leagues, but there's still a weird conception of deathmatch wrestling over in Japan because I think a lot of the other promotions view deathmatch wrestlers as crazy or dangerous, stiff, and that's the exact opposite of the truth, I think. But there's such a huge skill difference, such an understanding of the medium of professional wrestling beyond what America does. Another thing that when I came back to America, and penultimately was my decision when I went back to Japan and I was dropping the belt. I decided I was going to just full on retire from deathmatch wrestling. Was I just saw that the talent pool in the deathmatch wrestling scene was not up to my standard anymore. When I came into deathmatch wrestling, you had a plethora of individuals like Alex Colon. You had guys like Eric Ryan, which I mean, they're still wrestling, but it was that style was glamorized, and people were chasing that kind of wrestling style in the deathmatch scene. We emphasized and pushed that. Now it seems to be much more of what everyone makes fun of deathmatch wrestling for: throwing stuff, people just doing stuff to do stuff. The art of the death match is the art of pro wrestling, and people nowadays really don't seem to be interested in the art of pro wrestling. They're interested in the idea of the cheap reaction. Oh, just because the crowd reacted because I threw something, that means it's good. And that's not the style of wrestling I want to do. I could do it. I've done it. There's a time for it where it's just like throw fists, throw stuff, and make it a car crash. But I can do those things, but then I can turn on my pro wrestling brain and give you a technical wrestling match. I can give you a technical death match wrestling match, and those guys are just one note. And I just decided, you know what? I don't want to be that guy that these guys ape off of, or these guys um, use as a catapult to for whatever reason. Because I want more than that. I deserve more than that, and I've been that guy for you know my entirety of my deathmatch career. It doesn't matter how good I was or how good of a reaction I got. People would always use me as a launching pad for the next big thing, and then those next big things would either go get signed or stop doing deathmatch wrestling. And again, I'm fortunate of how Japan was probably the only company that looked at me and said, "Okay, we're all in. Like there's no doubts, no thoughts about it, other than the fact that I decided I didn't want to move back to Japan and leave my dog and everything else behind for 6 months again. I was like, I have a life here that I have to live. But Big Japan Pro Wrestling looked at me and said, "You're the guy." And I was, the face of their website. I was probably number one merch mover in terms of my own merchandise, but also whatever merchandise they made of me. I it's Big Japan Pro Wrestling is what helped me know that like I am doing something and I'm capable of doing something that most people in America, whether they're regular pro wrestlers or they're deathmatch wrestlers, are not able to. I'm marketable. I can sell. I can make people care, and I have a track record of whatever companies I go to, people start to notice and start to pay attention to it. I'm not saying it's all myself, but I am a catalyst of it, if not one of many catalysts that make people care about wrestling. And I don't want to sacrifice my own love for the game just to play ball. I want to do more in the pro wrestling world, and honestly, I hit my peak with deathmatch wrestling because there's no topping what I did, and the way that the fans even respect the wrestlers, is a whole different dichotomy than what we face here. Here, it's almost like you're a cheap little like rock star, but you're expendable, right? When I had my last death match and I walked to the back and I said goodbye after I lost the belt, and fans were coming up to me and they were crying that I lost. But when I told them that it was my last death match ever in Japan, they started hugging me and saying, "Oh my God, we didn't know." I was like, "No one knew." I never really got that reaction, or feel like you can get that kind of reaction out of someone unless you've been doing with like Nick Gage decided to hang up the boots. I feel like people would cry, but he's been into the culture of deathmatch wrestling and pro wrestling for 25 plus years, right? Um, when I had my last deathmatch tournament in like Tournament of Death, I will say it was a different kind of sadness, but it wasn't the Japanese girls crying, men with tears in their eyes shaking your hand, saying thank you. The way that we treat pro wrestling here in America is such a different ball game than what it is in Japan. Like that's a known fact. And I just love how the fans in Japan treat all aspects of pro wrestling serious, even if it's not a serious thing. Like DDT is not a serious wrestling promotion all the time, right? We all know this. But even the comedy wrestling that we would scoff and go, "That's stupid." They take the comedy seriously and they appreciate it for what it is, even if it's something that's so out of left field. Like recently, it was what was it? It was Chris Brooks and Zack Sabre Jr. Zack Sabre Jr. was about to get the win. The ref counts one, two, stops at the third, and he starts like sobbing up. And it cuts to dark, and there's a giant projector screen, and it shows the friendship of Chris Brooks and and the referee, and that's why he can't count to three. Anywhere else, like in America, like obviously there's fans that respect it and they laugh at it, but to Japan, it's almost like it is. It is. They take it seriously as a wrestling style, as an art form, but they're also willing to just lean into it and just enjoy the ride. A lot of American fans and a lot of Western fans, I feel like they're so analytical all the time, or they think they're analytical, and they try to pick everything apart as, oh, it's not going to sell, it's not going to make do tickets. Um, that doesn't make sense. And the beauty of pro wrestling is that it is almost like the beauty of a movie. If you set the basis of pro wrestling as it's silly, you can do whatever you want, but we do have some serious moments, you can do that in your promotion, DDT. But if you set that your promotion in the style of say New Japan or Pro Wrestling Noah, you've you've set your movie, you've set the stage as being okay. You could not do the comedy of DDT because the universe that you've made is very. It's a different color. It's a
Serious.
different
Yeah,
style.
serious
Yeah,
style.
yeah. That's how I view pro wrestling nowadays too, and I view pro wrestling more because of Japan versus America as theater, as a movie, but you have to follow the rules of whatever it is that you're trying to tell. And I'm not someone who's going to do some crazy DDT match. Like, made Kira aside, that was its own thing. But generally, people know what they're getting with me, and people now realize that I've come back from America and dealt with the two different sides of fans, and I've really thought about and studied the fans' reactions, how they realize how different I'm operating in terms of a match structure, in terms of a character. They're like, you're. I've had people I respect in wrestling. They've watched my matches recently, and they said you aren't the silly kid that was here like 2 years ago. They're like, it's not there. Your movements, everything you're doing is calculated. You're not trying so hard to make people care. You just do it. And I think that's the best thing is when you finally relax in yourself and you understand who you are, what you're trying to do, and you're able to present it without any struggle. Because there's so many times I see other pro wrestlers in Japan too. They're trying so hard to make the crowd care, and I'm like, the crowd sees it when you're trying so hard, and I'm like, you just have to exist. Like, people want to see you for you. I yap a lot. I'm sorry.
No, no, it's okay. No, no, no. I really appreciate you giving
I like
great
talking.
insight.
I don't. No, I like talking, so I don't mind. I don't mind any time frame thing. So
No, that's totally fine. It's your world. I'm living in it right now. And it was one of the generalized questions I've always wanted to ask as far as what do you think the misconception is? So I really appreciate you giving me and, the wrestling audience and as well as my audience, my community. It is very, as you know, my community is very mixed when
yeah,
it comes to everything, when it comes to gaming,
mhm,
comics, I,
same.
I'm into like, everything. And uh, one of the things that a lot of people don't know is me and your friendship started because we both had a love of kaiju,
Yes,
love Godzilla,
yes. I have an entire
and
wall now of Godzilla stuff from stuff that people in Japan sent me. I got so many Godzilla gifts when I was in Japan. Like, I got one of the embroidered Harajuku style jackets that are like really expensive. A fan just went and bought it for me and bought it to me and said, present for you. And she got her daughter a matching one so her and I could match. And I got so many things. Like, I have an entire wall that is just all Godzilla, not all the kaiju, but a slow collection, if you will.
no, it's quite it's how do I say this? I've come across a lot of like Godzilla collectors,
Yeah.
especially like on social media, and I'll be like, "Who loves Godzilla?" Just because I want to start a conversation that's not necessarily like negative based around the chaos that's going on in the world. And then I'll just see people post like their massive collections that I didn't even
Oh
know that
yeah.
they had, and I'm like, "Oh my god!" And then I remember one particular follower I do have has like lidded cases of just giant
Ah,
Godzilla figures.
well, it's like Jushin Liger. Jushin Liger makes his own Godzilla figures. It's so crazy. Like,
I didn't know that.
yeah, he's a huge Godzilla nut. It's crazy how widespread. Like, again, this is also just due to the power of social media. Positives and negatives of it aside, that Godzilla is kind of like pro wrestling. Is that it's very world expanding. Um, like, just like Pokemon is like that's how are things from Japan. They create things that have such uh, mass appeal without even trying to. Like, I don't know if they thought Pokemon would be some mass appeal thing, or Godzilla, because Godzilla was a straight up horror movie back in the 50s,
Yeah.
but it was just
Between
such a
campy and
hit.
some.
Yeah, trust me, I love my campy Godzilla. Like the new Godzillas that are coming out in America, people are like, it's not as serious as the ones in Japan. I'm like, guys, I'm perfectly okay with kaijus doing pro wrestling moves in an American film because at least we have the budget to make it look cool. Let the Japanese handle the serious stuff because we fail whenever we try to interpret other words and make them serious. Like I just think about Old Boy, the original Old Boy, and then the remake of Old Boy, and how bad it is. I'm like, ugh. I'm like, let's just like not try to, or hell, the Dragon Ball movie. I can't remember the name of it. Dragon Ball was Evolution. I'm
Ocean.
like,
Oh yeah.
yeah, Avatar. Even though Avatar wasn't a Japanese creation, but like just whenever we try to interpret things, generally it's done for a monetary thing and not a artistic thing. The one exception I might say would be I like the Super Mario movie enough, or um, the Detective Pikachu movie. That movie still makes me laugh. It's a very funny, cute movie, and I like it.
It's a good movie. Yeah. Uh, no, it's universal as far as when we're talking about communities.
Yeah.
Everyone has their preference of what type of Godzilla they like.
Hmm.
Surprisingly, Godzilla, I believe, won an Oscar finally.
Yep, for -1. Yeah. It was so critically acclaimed, and I think Shin Godzilla was deserving of at least a foreign film Oscar. I love Shin Godzilla too. It's such a if you watch that movie, it's horrifying, but of course it's done by the director of Evangelion, Hideaki Anno. But which is why Godzilla looks like a freaky space alien. Like that man knows he's freaky space alien. But it's such a funny movie because it talks about the political red tape of Japan and how they have to go from uh, from government to government to government to government to government to get something done. And by the time that they finally get it ready, it's far too late. And it's almost like a black comedy kind of a bit. And I really like that movie too. But -1 was probably the first Godzilla movie in a long time where my mouth was like jaw dropping numerous times just because the score, the acting overall was so well done, and the moments where Godzilla was used was so effective. Godzilla was used almost like to go spin back to wrestling. He's used like a deathmatch wrestling weapon. Of like yeah, you can spam him like in a show movie, and it's great, it's fun, right? But if you really want to get the most mileage out of using Godzilla in an artistic, dramatic fashion, how -1 did it, or how Shin Godzilla did it, is the perfect pace of how it's done. Because when he's used, it gets the biggest reaction because it's Godzilla, but it's done in such a way that it leaves you awe-inspired, or in case of a deathmatch wrestling weapon, it leaves you horrified. The whole point about a deathmatch weapon is I really don't want to see that person get hit by that thing. Yeah, it could be cool like sometimes, but I don't want to see someone land on that razor cross, or if it's a horrifying villain or an asshole villain. I really want to see that asshole land on that on that weapon and get hurt. And that's the beauty. Again, that's the beauty of when you are interested in other kinds of art and other mediums of media. You see the correlation between what they are and what pro wrestling is and can be. A lot of people just watch pro wrestling and study pro wrestling, and they wonder why they don't reach out more. It's because they're just aping off of what other people have done. I love I love Shinsuke Nakamura. Shinsuke Nakamura was one of the reasons why I got back into wrestling. Early New Japan Shinsuke was cool, uh, but he very much wasn't the person who he was when he became the King of Strong Style. When he started really reaching out to different influences and incorporating them into who he was versus just being a wrestler, he became the king of strong style, and he became like the #1 superstar in Japan. Like, people could say Tanahashi, which sure, but in terms of widespread appeal of who was the coolest and baddest dude for New Japan Pro Wrestling in the early 2010s, it was King of Strong Style Shinsuke. You could not watch that guy and be like, this is the coolest dude on earth. When he came over and wrestled Sami Zayn for NXT, it was that exact same like charisma. You were like, this is so amazing. Uh, so I noticed those things too. Like even Terry Funk was like that. Though. Terry Funk had interests outside of pro wrestling. I mean, how he became an actor, a very successful actor, all things considered,
Yes, he did.
and he incorporated that into his shtick. The Rock is the exact same thing. The most successful people in pro wrestling have loves outside of pro wrestling because they take that love and they incorporate it into the pro wrestling. It feeds the beast, if you will. Because when you if it's just a pro wrestler being a pro wrestler, that's great. But how many people are actively can be Brian Danielson? The answer's not really any. Not really any, man. And even Brian Danielson wasn't just a wrestler. He had so much charisma in his own way that made his matches interesting. A lot of people are just trying to be super duper serious at all times. I'm like, dude, no one wants to see that. People want to see that when you're a young lion in Japan, and they're like, hey, just have a competent wrestling match, because then they applaud. Good job, guys, good job. But when you're being paid to entertain people from different areas of the country of the United States, Japan, and you're not a young kid anymore, it's very much you need to figure your stuff out. You need to not just be super duper serious boy. Because then it's like if you're just trying to be super duper comedy guy, and it's like okay, you're a super duper comedy guy, but now you're typecast as that, and now you have to try to break out of that if you want to break out of that. And that's a hell of a battle because it is almost like again going back to deathmatch wrestling. I could go out there and have matches with Speedball Mike Bailey, but for some reason people still have this weird perception that he's just a deathmatch wrestler. And I'm like, guys, I've gone out time and time again and proven otherwise. Matches with Kenta, Minoru Suzuki, Speedball, Rocky Romero, and I've gone out there and mind you, my style is. I look back at those matches and I cringe because I see it from an analytical perspective rather. I see how I would do things differently now because I'm so more self confident in myself and my abilities, and I see the style that I want to become versus kind of just doing things that I think are just fun at the time. But I had those matches, and people were applauding those matches. Like the matches I had with all of those guys were great for Prestige, for Bloodsport, or for MLW, and I was a focal point. But even then, I was never someone who was super duper serious wrestling all the time. Everyone knows I could do a joke. I could. At the end of the day, Akira is just me, and Akira is Alex, and Alex is someone who's interested in a wide variety of things, including kaiju.
As far as people may not believe it, but Akira's government name is not Akira.
I,
So,
I mean, Ellen, you can check the Wikipedia. I didn't even know I had a Wikipedia until last year, and then I saw it. And I was like, "What? Wow! My God, was the stuff right? Amazing."
uh, so I'm sure people want to know, as far as the origin of your name, is it based off anime?
So when I was a young lad, a lot of people think Akira the anime. No, it was because I was a huge Dragon Ball nut. I loved, and Akira Toriyama was just a name that stuck. I didn't know it was the creator. I was like 5 at the time. You don't know. Oh, that's the director. Is that's who
Oh,
made the thing? But I saw
so your name
Akira Toriyama.
okay.
Well, but it was that, and it was like my childhood nickname because I was the only Asian kid. And despite what people may believe, when I was a young boy, I looked like I came out of a Godzilla movie. I had the bowl cut, I had the overalls. I looked like a little Asian kid until puberty punched me in the face. And people would, I got all the wonderful names that you get from being the only Asian kid in school in rural Indiana. But my friends would call me that. So and I just decided because as I was growing up, because when people started hitting me and I got all the racial slurs, all the names, everything under the sun. I just decided one day when I got back into wrestling that because when I was growing up I hated being Asian. Like all that stuff I used to get made me hate who I was as a human being. And people don't realize that. People don't really ask about that. They just assume, oh, it's because of X or Y Z reason. I'm like, no, I used to hate who I was. I used to hate myself. And when I became a pro wrestler, I said, you know what? Because my grandmother had passed, a whole bunch of life had happened, right? And I just decided I'm going to take that name. I'm going to take the old hatred I used to have for myself and all the stuff I used to get, and I'm going to take it and own it and make something out of it. And so that's why I lean more into my heritage now. And there's always been a couple people that are like, "Oh, you're just a white man doing." I'm like, guys, I am not a white man. I hate to break it to you. I've faced more racism in my life than you could pretend to deal with. But I just decided to own it, and for so far, it's like I used to get some negative pull from people, but now people just generally it's like, oh, that's Akira. There's no the Japanese never had any issues with it. There was Japanese people that could see that I was of Japanese Korean lineage, or they could see, or they were just like they didn't care because I was so inundated into the culture and I was so good as a wrestler. They're like, we don't care. And I'm happy I've gotten to that point where I didn't have to change my name because I couldn't think of a last name either. Like there was no, I wanted to have a last name. Like if you look on Cage Match or whatever, there's Akira Tsurugi, which I still, if I would just like to go to another company and they're like, hey, we need to give you a last name for X or Y Z reason, I'd probably use that. But because when I became a pro wrestler and I decided to really pursue it. My family was like, okay, because I lost my job at the time, and my family was like, okay, you can either get a job and stay here in our house, or you can be a pro wrestler, but you have to leave. And that night I left. So I kind of disowned my family for 3 years, if you will. Like I didn't speak to them. I had nothing to say to them. I was very much on my own, and so that's why it's just Akira. It's not because of the anime. It's not because I knew of Akira Nogami. I had no idea who that was because guys, I didn't have internet, like actual functioning, non-censored by a Christian college internet until I was like 24. like, so I was very much late to the game in terms of, hey, there's another wrestler like that. But even then, he doesn't go by that all the time either. And he's more known in Japan than he is anywhere else. And I have nothing but respect for him either because he's done a lot. He's a very well known actor over there too. But that's where the name came from. It was not just I didn't steal just from the anime. There's a whole history behind it, and I have my own rhyme and reasonings for it. People don't think about. Some people probably do things just spur of the moment, but I'm really not that kind of person. And generally, like the best pro wrestlers have a rhyme and a reason for why they do a move, why they have a name, or why they call something something.
I I always wondered exactly what the origin was. I know I've never asked you in like the years that we've communicated,
Yeah, it's not a
but
big deal.
it's still nice to know, and thank you just for sharing, as far as your personal experiences growing
Yeah,
up.
you can't understand something until you understand the syntax for it. And I'm someone who loves to talk about the details of things because it's so easy to be kind of like carte blanche about stuff and just talk and forget about it over, wash it away and talk about just the minute detail, like the big overarching name. It's like you don't understand the name of things. You don't understand uh, the meaning of something until you understand all the context behind it. And I'm very much someone who wants to understand things. Like that's one thing when I was in Japan. I was studying myself. I was studying, self help, growing, overcoming like traumas and things like not even things about what people might think, but like stuff with family, how to fix human relationships, communication. And I was just reading stuff on philosophy, stoicism. I wanted to understand things more, and I'm very much like that now because now my next big crazy thing is streaming and content creation and trying to understand the nuances of that. I'm someone who's horrible with like algorithms and things like that, but luckily I've been falling into the lap of people who are able to kind of guide me in the right direction with that too. And it's the same with wrestling. I've been lucky to have people who taught me for good and for bad the ways of wrestling, the ways of life, and now the ways of streaming and ways of just being a creator.
Now, we'll go into, your content creation as far
Hmm.
as it comes to streaming. We'll talk about that. Uh, Thank you. Of course, I wanted to make sure everyone at least I know there's a good portion of people that are like, hey, we want to talk about the wrestling, so
Yeah.
you know, let's
No.
get down to it. Akira, uh, as far as content creation, you're a
Mm,
gamer. I come and tune in. You know that.
yeah.
I'll, at least when I can, just to
Yeah.
support you because I want to support you, and I always have
Yeah. You
supported
have.
you in your choices. Uh, Also, what is your favorite anime? What's your favorite game?
Oh God. So I guess here's the thing with it. I have this take with all the things that I like is I don't have a one favorite thing anymore because
Kind of hard, right?
it's because I don't have like a one favorite really anymore. I don't have a one favorite band. I like things in a variety for different reasons. But the oldest favorites I can think of, like one would be Cowboy Bebop. Obviously, I'm always going to be a sucker for Dragon Ball Z because it's the anime that started it all for me and one of the most hyped things ever. I mean they had like a national mourning when Akira Toriyama passed. Uh, I
I
just
remember that.
finished yeah, I just finished Yu Yu Hakusho, and I think that might be in terms of the '90s anime like on Toonami. Uh, Yu Yu Hakusho, I think, is probably my favorite I've seen, and I've watched it finally from completion from beginning to end. Cowboy Bebop's another. Um, Gurren Lagann. Gurren Lagann is the most hype, bro hype anime ever in the world, and because listen, I'm a pervert heart. Kill la Kill is another one too, by the same studio. It's such a pervert anime, but it's not a pervert anime. It's got such warm feelings, but it's layered in perversion in ways that I'm like doctor. uh,
I remember when that anime came out. I didn't fully watch it. I think I only watched maybe like the first two episodes.
oh, Kill la Kill, you got to dive into it. It's
Yeah, it's
crazy.
one of those
It's
things you
fun
kind of have to
crazy.
just go into it. Uh, as far as anime, my preference was, Cowboy Bebop is always one of my
Mm,
favorites because
art.
it's the perfect balance of sci-fi and spaghetti western.
And it's funny, it's serious. It's like pro wrestling. It has all of its nuances, and it uses them to the greatest extent. The soundtrack, the animation, the movie is so good too. But that's also how I move to things like JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. Like I
That's
love
also one of
JoJo, and despite all the negative connotation towards it, uh, Rurouni Kenshin, when I was a kid, had a powerful impact on me, and I identify with Kenshin in ways that people can never understand because he's a startup ex samurai Ronin who didn't want to live that life of killing anymore, and I'm scarred up ex deathmatch wrestler who doesn't want to do that anymore. Which again, by the way, TV promotions, there's so much you could do with that. Come on, what are we doing here? like a former king of the death match who doesn't want to do death matches anymore, doesn't want to bleed, just wants to wrestle. Come on, like the stories write themselves. But it doesn't matter. Let's see, Kenshin, Trigun was fun. I liked Trigun.
I was going to mention Trigun too.
God, I've been. Well, it's not a anime yet. I don't know why it's not, but I've been reading the manga Vagabond, and it's a manga about the fictionalized version of real life samurai Miyamoto Musashi, who is someone else. When I was in Japan, as I started growing my hair out, people were making apt comparisons to, like, you look like Miyamoto from Vagabond, and I'm like, I've never read Vagabond. And then one day I was going up an escalator and into a store, and it had a giant mural of the face of Miyamoto. And like you go and look at it when we're done with this, and you'll just look up Miyamoto Musashi Vagabond, and the comparisons are crazy. I look at it and I was like, wow, I don't know what I'm doing anymore. I just happen to look like anime characters. Oh, and you know what? This is not me kissing up to Minoru Suzuki, but I have an affection for One Piece that I did not have before because I understand the insane nature of it now and how silly it is, but how serious it can be. And plus, I do look like Shanks when I have my hair parted and when I have my hair freshly dyed. So there's also that too. There was a couple Japanese girls when I'd go to clubs and stuff. in Japan, and they were like, "Oh, Shakespeare," and I'm like, "Damn right."
Uh, as far as when it going back to anime, I think everyone
Mm.
saw Dragon Ball, or at least Dragon Ball Z
Mhm.
growing
The
up.
Ghibli movies too, by the way. I'm a huge fan of the Ghibli movies. Uh, a huge fan of those, and a huge fan of um, just what the kind of art that they brought to the table using the anime style, like style. Hayao Miyazaki's a genius.
What is your most preferred one out of all of them? Out of
Oh God!
like,
Don't do. Okay, listen. So
yo, don't do this to
my
me.
my original favorite is always going to be Spirited Away, but
That was really good. Mine is Princess
um,
Mononoke.
I like Mononoke. But you know, I got to overcome the CTE because I haven't thought about the movie names in so long. Whisper of the Heart is my
I haven't seen
is
that one.
that movie. It is. It's not fantastical in terms of what you may think, but it is such a cute and beautiful little love story that I love. Also, Castle in the Sky is great too. I got to go to the museum when I was in Japan, and I got to do that, and then I went to the 3D art exhibit, and I was just blown away. Like I got to see the movie they have just for the museum there, and I was just so lost in like my childhood wonder again. Just that's one thing I've been in touch with too, is just being lost in being absorbed by art, being absorbed and just being entertained again. And Hayao Miyazaki is so good at just making you just be lost in the moment and appreciate everything, laughing at the silly things, not being such a mature adult that you can't laugh at some stupid joke that a childish character can make because it's a child. Like it captures you at your most relaxed, and that's why I love those movies. But God, I don't know why I'm like, oh, Grave of the Fireflies is probably the most traumatic favorite of mine. That one, I haven't watched it in years, but it's because it's not one I can watch over and over. I'm such a, despite what people may think, being such a, oh, he's a crazy deathmatch guy. I'm such a sap. Like I watch Instagram videos, and if it's something with like a cute thing with a kid and her dog, or whatever it may be, the waterworks turn on, and I
Yeah,
can't not cry about it.
one comment like I've made about you like privately one time to someone was I was like that you're very like soft and warm person. Like not in an not in a bad way, but you are very kind.
I obviously I've made a fool of myself sometimes. Like apparently, like sometimes if I get high, I'll say some really stupid shit. But that's generally why I don't drink and get high anymore. Like I don't do marijuana much anymore, even though I'm in New York. I don't drink too much because I just get off the rails. I try to be in control of myself. I try to be as warm and genuine as I can because I very much live by that thing of we don't know what someone's going through. I want to treat others the way I want to be treated, and also I just when I was younger and growing up, I didn't have much empathy for other people. Like I was wanting to get in fights and a whole bunch of stuff. I had the capacity to do that still. And when I was in Japan, I was training, working with people who would fight for Pancrase and Ryzen. And people would ask me when are you going to debut for Ryzen? And I'm like, oh, guys, relax. I don't want to do that. I have the capacity for violence. I just don't want to be that person because I was that person, and I only want to do that when I'm forced to. And we have enough people in the world that are already trying to make everything horrible, or just that do things without thinking and they hurt others. I don't want to be that person. I as often as I can be, and obviously human mistakes happen. I'm a human being. We all are, but I strive my best to lead by example. I try to be there for people, and I just can't help it. Like I grew up being such a cold, trying to be such a angry asshole all the time. It's very karmic that now I'm someone who, if I see like there's a Instagram of it's a a mixed Japanese girl, like English Japanese girl, and her two dogs, and her they put the mic on her and she walks up, she talks to the dogs, And the way she goes around and lovingly talks to the dog is so careful and considerate. She goes, "Lady, watch out for the bus. Watch out for the cars. Come, lady. Do you want water?" And the way she hugs them, every time, tear in my eyes. I want to be a dad one day, and I'm like, damn it. And I don't even fight it anymore. I'll be sitting there with my roommates, and I'll be looking at my phone, and I'll sit there, and I'll just like start tearing up, and they don't even notice anymore. They're just like the pat on the shoulder, and sometimes I'll get up and walk away, but no, I I don't regret being the person I am. Like I can be violent, I can fight, I can do all that stuff, but from what again, going back to like Kenshin and going back to Miyamoto Musashi and Vagabond, that's what I want to be. That's why it's so easy for me to be a baby face. Like, I can be a heel. I've done it, but I get so much stronger reactions, and from what I know from what you've seen in my work and from what people have seen me, I just get people to care about me, and I feel like that's something that's horribly missing today too. A lot of people can do all the greatest things in the world athletically, but people actually caring and being concerned for you is a whole level of appreciation versus that was a great match or that was a 5 star match. And I'm not someone who's anti 5 star match. I try to have those too. But in those matches, I want people to be worried about me. I want people to care. I want people to get angry. I want people to ride through the waves of emotions while I do those things. And it all comes to the fact of I just want to be a good human being. When I'm dead and gone, I want people to go, great pro wrestler. He was someone who was always there for people. He took what he made and he tried to spread the wealth as much as he could. He was always there for us. But at the end of the day, he was just a human being that was trying his best for other people as much as himself.
Well, Akira, before I let you go, where can everyone find you? And also, is there anything particularly you want to say to your community and your fans?
You can catch me. All my social media is at the Akira Way. So TheAkiraway. That's TikTok. Well, TikTok's that one. It's the Akira Way one. But Instagram, Twitter, and especially Twitch, where I'm constantly doing stuff every day almost, except for Sundays now because I'm so I know the wrestling scene itself is like I came back to the wrestling scene from Japan, and the difference of what I left to what I came back to, it's a whole different thing. Emotions are gone. People can say the independents aren't dying, but there's definitely less places to work. And if you're not TNA, AEW affiliated, it's really hard. It's a bit harder for me just to get out and get work. And people have asked me, and they're like, "You've been to CMLL, you've been all around the world. Why aren't you in more places?" And I go, "There's probably lots of reasons. I don't know, but also it's just I can just say people want to make do on their investment, so it's easy to grab someone from TNA or whatever and bring them in. But I'm trying my best, guys. I want to be. I don't know where I want to go. I'm doing my best for myself, for my dog, for my snake, and for my family. Because at the end of the day, I want to have a house. I want to take care of my family. I would love to go be seen by hell WWE, TNA, AEW, Ring of Honor, or Japanese promotions. I'm just doing my best, and I know that life and times are hard for everyone. Myself, probably for you, for anyone who's listening. And no matter what I do, whether it's in a wrestling ring or on a Twitch stream, I want to make sure you come to those things and forget about the worries of life, forget about what you're going through, and just enjoy the moment for what it is. Laugh, have a good time, and get that weight taken off your shoulders because I know a lot of people have heavy weights on their shoulders from existing. I want to do that, and I want to do that and be successful at it, and I want to reach for the stars, whether it's in pro wrestling and getting signed to a good deal, or Twitch streaming blasting off and I become some big internet media mogul, which would be great. I'm just trying my best, and I'm hoping that people can love and support me on the way just as much as I'm going to love communicating and love talking to everyone and being there for them as much as I can as well. It's been very comforting to have people message me after my streams on Discord, on Instagram, and they tell me you're making life easier. You give me something to look forward to during the day, and I don't know what that is, as I'm just being acting like a jackass sometimes. But like sometimes people just need a jackass to laugh at, and I'm down to do that too. But thank you,
All right. Well, thank you, and thank you for joining me today, Akira.
thank you so much.